state of Arkansas had a surplus in topsoil moisture. And we've certainly seen some additional heavier rains in some parts of the plains, particularly across portions of south central and east central Kansas as of late, and that has made for some flooding concerns that'll continue in the short term for some of those areas, as we'll continue to see some bands of showers and storms across areas of the central plains as we finish out the work week today. And then heading into the weekend, most of the rain chances will push further east and south across the country, as most of the central plains looks to stay dry for the weekend and very beginning of next week. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley.
Your home for Goodland High School athletics. Fort Hays Tech Northwest Tech Tiger basketball, the Denver Broncos, as well as the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer. You're listening to Goodland's Rocket 102.5, KKCI FM, Goodland Colby, an NWKS radio station.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. As National Guard troops stand watch protecting federal property in Los Angeles, President Trump says he's prepared to dispatch active-duty Marines, if necessary, to restore peace to the streets of L.A. Weekend rioting in Los Angeles came after ICE agents enforcing federal immigration law conducted a series of raids targeting criminal illegal aliens. Police and National Guardsmen were pelted with rocks, bottles, and other objects. Cars went up in flames amid a looting spree. California Governor Newsom urging President Trump to withdraw the National Guard, arguing its deployment violates state sovereignty. Russia has launched 479 drones into Ukraine, the war's biggest overnight drone attack so far. On Wall Street, the Dow futures 59 points higher. NASDAQ futures are up 26 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Let's see, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into. And that's MetaShare. Maybe you've heard joining MetaShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month. And that's huge, but it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MetaShare works too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE. 844-45-BIBLE.
Rocket 102.5.
Today will be a dry, sunny, and pleasant day as highs will climb into the lower 80s, which are seasonal for this time of year with northwest winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tomorrow, a ridge will build over the area, resulting in sunny, hot, and dry conditions for early June. Highs will be in the lower 90s. The winds will turn to a south-southwest direction at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Wednesday and into the weekend, a ridge will begin to break down. Short waves will move off the Rockies, and Gulf moisture and humidity affect into the region due to light southerly winds less than 20 miles per hour. This will lead to daily chances for late afternoon and evening showers and storms. Wednesday, the storms look to stay mainly to the west in Colorado. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are more likely to move through the area, especially later in the evenings. Severe weather is possible with isolated super spells, and the main threat will include large hail, damaging winds, and locally heavy rain. Highs will continue to be warmer than normal in the upper 80s and low 90s. This is meteorologist Chris Romick in the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
Wake up, sports fans. It's time to kickstart your day with the Morning Blitz and me, Ross Volkmer. Get the latest updates, in-depth analysis, and a few hot takes on everything from the preps to the pros. Whether you're driving to work or just getting your day started, I've got you covered with all the local sports talk you crave. So don't miss out. Tune in every weekday morning starting at 7 Mountain, 8 Central Time on Goodland's Rocket 102.5 to the Morning Blitz and join the conversation. Miss the show? No problem. Download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. Spring is in full swing at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware. Get your lawn and garden looking their best with Ultimate Fertilizer and gear up with Ego blowers and mowers for the season ahead. Tackling a project, they've got a surplus of quality lumber ready for all your building needs. And when the work's done, fire up the fun with their wide selection of grills, smokers, and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Stop by Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your one-stop shop for spring projects, big and small.
When someone asks me when is the best time to start saving for retirement, my answer is simple. It's today. Hi, I'm Chris Yost, your Edward Jones financial advisor in Goodland. I can help you build a plan for your ideal retirement by identifying your unique goals and help keep you on track to achieve them. The sooner you get started, the better. Call me at 785-899-3611 to schedule an appointment today. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Big savings are waiting at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get a 25 Chevy Silverado 1500 with 0.9% APR for 60 months plus $3,500 trade-in cash. Or choose a 25 GMC Sierra 1500 Turbo Max, 0.9% APR or up to over $7,800 off if you own a GMC or Buick. And don't forget, military members get an extra $750 cash allowance. It's happening now at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
If you're looking for a more convenient way to access your funds and view your account, then sign up today for Internet Banking. Internet Banking allows you to view your accounts from your computer or even your phone. You can easily transfer between your accounts, view which checks have cleared, send payments through our bill pay feature, and even deposit your checks by taking a picture of them. Internet banking will make your banking experience easy. If you'd like to sign up for Internet Banking, come see me, Victoria Ratcliffe, today at 202 East 11th Street in Goodland, FNB Bank, member FDIC.
Big savings are waiting at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get a 25 Chevy Silverado 1500 with 0.9% APR for 60 months plus $3,500 trade-in cash. Or choose a 25 GMC Sierra 1500 Turbo Max, 0.9% APR or up to over $7,800 off if you own a GMC or Buick. And don't forget, military members get an extra $750 cash allowance. It's happening now at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4!
It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
There is a benefit to building a team and keeping it together for the length of time. But that does not happen anymore because of the portal and NIL and money.
The High Plains only local sports talk show.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
Broadcasting live on Rocket 102.5 and streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Who's got it better than that? Nobody!
Covering it all from the preps.
Lego Thorson in the corner for three. Good!
To the pros.
The 1-0 pitch. Fermin drives it into left center field. Game over. Freddie Fermin wins the marathon for the Royals.
The Blitz is presented by Hurl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and FNB Bank. Along with the Insurance Agency, the Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work.
Swinging a ground ball, left side, back into it, shortstop by Good, fires the first, in time! And at long last, the Longhorns have their softball national championship. Texas beats Texas Tech 10-4.
The 2-2, McMahon hits it pretty well to left, going back, Nimmo to the warning track, to the wall, it's out of here! Touch of all time, Ryan McMahon. Opposite field shot for his 7th homer of the year.
SGA, great split of the double, drives and kicks, wide open corners 3 Williams, and J-Dub knocks down the triple. Up ahead to Wiggins, inside the arc, pass to Kenrich Williams. Down low, Holmgren wide open, and he slams it home with 2 hands, and Rick Carlisle looks to stop the bleeding as the lead grows to 15.
And good Monday morning, everybody. We are back here on the Morning Blitz on this June the 9th. So glad that you could join us, no matter if you're tuning in, of course, on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, or maybe it's nwksradio.net or through your mobile device, or heck, even if you're tuning in on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream on YouTube, X, or Facebook. Appreciate you doing so on a beautiful start to a week here on Monday, June the 9th. Temperature is going to be warm and more summery after a week last week and an end of the week particularly that was cool and damp, including a beautiful rain on Friday night, mind you. Absolutely gorgeous rain. I think I had almost 3/4 of an inch on that beautiful rain on Friday night. But now summer looks like it has arrived here as we have currently 57 and sunshine, going to be 81 today, and it jumps up into the upper 80s and even low 90s for what looks like the rest of the week. And so we've got some summery feel as we really get going here in the month of June. We got a full show ahead for you today. We will be joined by Aaron Schromick. Not only is he the Rollins County head football coach, but he is also, or was, I should say, the head coach for the 8-man All-Star Division I squad who rolled this weekend at the 8-man All-Star football games. And we'll get his thoughts and recap of the 8-man D1 football game and that great week that is the 8-man football All-Star games up in Beloit. And so look forward to visiting with him coming up here in our second segment. We've got plenty to get to in the leftovers, including an NBA Finals update and a college baseball super regional update. We will tell you who has their tickets punched to Omaha. But we've got all that coming up and so much more. As always, if you'd like to join the show, the best way to do so is through the F&B Bank text line. That number is 785-899-2222. If you'd like to join the show, text anytime. Your thoughts, your comments, your opinions, whatever it may be, hit us up at 785-899-2222. Number part of the Morning Blitz each and every morning. Hope everyone had a great weekend. My weekend was, like I said, I really enjoy the cooler weather and the moisture. We were part of the Highway 24 garage sales at my house. Had a great weekend. Thanks to all that stopped by and spent some money, particularly, or who just stopped by at all. It's great to see people. And it's also great to sell some items that we just don't need anymore for a little bit of money. So we had a great weekend there. It was a busy weekend, but a fun one nonetheless here on the Highway 24 garage sales. Yeah, the second year in a row that we've done it, and I know we really enjoy doing it at the Volkmer household. So we really do have a nice time. And thanks again to all those that came by and popped by and did that today. Did that on Friday and Saturday, I should say. And like I said, enjoyed the cooler weather. It was a beautiful evening the past few evenings, and just and with the rain as well, it was great. But looks like we're going to hit that summertime feeling here this week. Speaking of summertime stuff, that usually means vacations. And I do want to give a little programming note here before we get into weekend winners and losers. But there will be, starting on Thursday, no show at least through the rest of the week and then into the beginning part of next week as well. No shows. I believe we're the 12th, the 13th, 16th, 17th, 18th. I think 5 days of no shows at this point in time as I will be taking vacation. So once again, no shows the 12th, the 13th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. So if you wake up on the 12th, you're like, well, where is the Blitz? Well, I am taking a vacation. So anyway, 12th, 13th, 16th, 17th, 18th, for those who are curious, that's where I will not be coming in to do the Morning Blitz. So a vacation there. Okay, 7:13 Mountain, 8:13 Central Time as always. Like I said, FE Bank text line is open with your weekend winners and losers. If you'd like to hit us up, we'd love to hear those. But let's get to weekend winners and losers.
There are two kinds of people in this world.
There's winners and there's losers.
Which ones were which this past weekend?
I want winners.
Loser! You're a loser!
It's the weekend's winners and losers on the Morning Blitz.
Want to be a winner, be a winner.
All right, starting with winners. We'll start locally here. Just a quick update. First winners of the weekend, area athletes participating in All-Star games. There were a lot of them. Hoxie's Emily Boehner played in the Kansas Volleyball Association, the KVA All-Star game this past weekend. We talked, of course, on Friday with Travis Smith and, of course, him and good friend of the program, Brett Clow. They were the coaches of the Kansas six-man All-Star squad that played in Greensburg on Saturday night. And by the way, congratulations, they picked up a 30-point victory, 52-22. Really cool once again for those seniors, like the Trey Allens and the Josh Raths and, the other ones that we mentioned on Friday. Lots of different guys that got to play their final game of six-man football and got to do it in a cool environment on a turf field. Congratulations to them. They win 52-22 with the six-man with the 6-man All-Star game down in Greensburg. And then, of course, for some dumb reason, I think it's just the timing, and we'll get to that here in just a little bit. But 8-man D1 and D2 All-Star games were held as well this past weekend. 8-man D1, which was led by Aaron Schromick, who, by the way, once again, we will be joined by him coming up here at the bottom of the hour to talk about it. The 8-man D1 squad, which featured, Easton Nicholson and Duncan Bell and Sam Watkins from Hoxie. There were some other really, really good, a couple of Rollins, Dorian Colwell and Ryan Schromick were all on the 8-man Division I West squad, which absolutely dominated the East in the 8-man D1 All-Star. I mean, it wasn't even competitive. It was 72-0. They absolutely rolled the East, did the 8-man D1 West squad. So I look forward to hearing what Aaron Schromick put in the kids' breakfast that morning to have them perform to that capabilities. But they win easily, 72-0 did the West squad. But it was a reverse on the 8-man D2 side, where there were, some guys from Wallace County and Wheatland Grinnell playing for the West squad, but they were no match for the East as the West got rolled in the 8-man D2, 58-0. 58-0 was the final score of the 8-man D2 game. So, yeah, they got to participate. There were some very lopsided games. The D2 game, by the way, had 8 touchdown passes from the East quarterback J.D. Tyson, which was a record. And by the way, it was also the first 2 games in the All-Star Games history with the 2 winning margins of 45 points or more. Just a fun little stat right there for you. First 2 games in the All-Star Games history with 2 winning margins of 45 points or more. So very lopsided All-Star games, but nonetheless, to be good enough to be selected and to get to go participate in that is makes you a winner of the weekend, no doubt about it. So congratulations to all the 8-man D1, D2, 6-man football players that participated, and Hoxie's Emily Banner participated in the KVA All-Star game. Congratulations to ladies and gentlemen that competed in the great weekend that was this kind of All-Star weekend, which I don't know about for you. I think to me, it just seems like everything is happening so quickly. We get done with state track and not even a brief reprieve, and we're into All-Star weekend. And maybe that's the way the kids like it. Maybe that's the way the coaches like it. Let's get all this stuff done right now while we're still kind of in this mode of going because of school. And then we'll when we get to July, and we'll all take a step back. And I know that's probably what's going to happen. But to me, it just seems crazy. We just get done with state track. Bam, let's get going on All-Star games, 6-man. I mean, I just personally going into Friday, I thought only the 6-man game was being played. But no, I come to find out there's the KVA All-Star game. And then, of course, there's 8-man D1, D2. I was visiting with friend of the program, Mikey Dahl, yesterday. And we were talking about how, we got to get to, already camps and stuff are getting going for teams and playing summer league. And I mean, it's just nuts. It's nuts to me how quickly things have gotten going here this summer with really no break from when school and athletics got done. Bam, we're right back into working for 25 and 26. But I guess, and I know, like, for example, I know the Goodland Cowboy football team is at camp this weekend. They've got camp. They were at camp this weekend. They'll be getting back today, I would assume. So, like I said, it's very unique to see this schedule for whatever reason. I don't know why. To me, it seems like it's just such a quicker turnaround than it typically is. Usually you get maybe a week or 2, and then we're going to jump into this kind of stuff. But man, they are rolling. That is for sure. But first winner of the weekend, area athletes participating in All-Star games. Congratulations, all those ladies and gentlemen. Second winner of the weekend, Jack Caglione. We talked about it on Friday in 3 Up, 3 Down. Is Jack Caglione, is it a disappointment to his start of his, Major League Baseball career? And I said, you got to realize once again, it's only been a handful of games. It's only been about 4 games. The Royals took on the White Sox this past weekend, which, by the way, the Royals didn't have a great weekend. More on that in just a minute. But Jack Caglione did have a very good performance here on Sunday as he goes 4 for 4. He does have a double in there as well, his second of his career. He's yet to hit a home run, but he did get 4 for 4. And so he did show once again that he is capable of hitting big league pitching. We'll see how that looks here in the coming series starting Tuesday against the Yankees. But Jack Caglione certainly got to feel better getting a monkey off his back. Yes, he did have hits prior, But, people had expectations of coming in here and driving in a lot of runs and racking up tons of hits, and hasn't gotten the runs part yet, or the RBI part yet, or the home run part yet. But that will come. That will certainly come. Once again, I talk about with Jack Caglione. He didn't really have a AAA experience. He was up there for a cup of coffee. Now dominated while he was there for his cup of coffee, but as soon as the world's like, I think he's ready, bring him up. And so it may take a little bit more time to adjust to the big league level for Jack Caglione. But congratulations him, a winner of the weekend, 4 for 4 on Sunday. And our final winner of the weekend is college athletes. And just from the college athlete perspective, because Friday, the news finally came in that a federal judge granted final approval of the House versus the NCAA settlement. And so which resolves a trio of antitrust cases against the NCAA and its most powerful conferences. It establishes a new 10-year revenue sharing model in college sports, with athletic departments able to distribute roughly $20.5 million to athletes over the next 25-26 season. And of course, kids can still earn NIL with outside parties as well. Another big thing about this signing is that it does allow for it allows the NCAA and the 5 power conferences will force them to pay $2.8 billion with a B billion dollars in back damages to former athletes over the next decade. So once again, if you are, let's see here, let's say you're Colin Klein. We're going to throw a Kansas State quarterback out there. Let's say you're Colin Klein, because I think he's played within the last handful of years. Yeah, if you're Colin Klein, you're going to be getting a check in the mail from either, from the Big 12 or from the NCAA, paying you for your services that you should have gotten paid for during the course of the time that you were in Kansas State. They're going to pay that. And every athlete, I believe, is going to get some sort of money. Now, what kind of money that is, I don't know. I don't know if that's a check for $1,000 or a check for what. I don't know. I don't know the math. I don't know what that is. But the NCAA Power Conference are going to pay $2.8 billion in back damages to former athletes over the next decade. And that's lots of different athletes. I don't know how. Once again, I'm not studied up enough or versed enough to know how far back and how widespread that goes. Does that go to K-State swimming? Does that go to Kansas volleyball? Does that go to all that? I'm sure some of it does. I'm sure a majority of it goes to football. But I'll be interested to see how much money actually goes back to those athletes. There's a lot of athletes that are going to get this, but I don't know how far back and how widespread it is. But the big thing to take away from this is if you're a student athlete, you are now going to get paid by the college. You are going to get a check from the Kansas State Athletic Department every month or something like that going to your account for being a student athlete. It's a major shift in college sports. It ends the NCAA's long-standing amateurism model. No longer are these athletes amateurs. They're still student athletes, but they are no longer amateurs. They are now getting paid to play they were getting paid before, thanks to NIL, and outside. So that meant that, a car dealership once again could go to Avery Johnson and say, hey, here's this cool Corvette. Why don't you drive it around and promote it for us? You go do that. We'll give you a little kick money on the side as well. There's that kind of deal, NIL of that sort of thing. That was already happening here over the last few years with NIL and universities and NIL institutions tied to these universities were, using that as a way to pay their athletes. Like, please come to our university. We'll get you a blank by blank NIL, $1 million NIL deal. If you come and once again, you go to you star in these commercials, you do this, you do that, we'll get you some money, and people were using that as, here, we're going to pay you to come to our university and be a part of our deal. And here's the money that you can get. And That's how they're doing it. Now it changes a little bit. Now it becomes where now you don't have to go to an outside source. You don't have to go to that dealership to get the NIL deal to pay that. Now the college can just say, well, we're going to pay you this amount of money. And the colleges have $20.5 million each year to split with athletes. And how they want to divvy that up is based upon the university. So K-State's probably like, well, we're going to put it towards football, men's basketball, maybe women's basketball, and the percentage, the amount of pie, there's a $20.5 million pie. More than likely, a massive 75%, that would be my guess, 75% of it is going to go towards football. 75% of that $20.5 million is going to go towards football because it's the biggest moneymaker in an athletic department. After that, it kind of gets dependent on what university you are. What is your next best money-making sport? Most of it's men's basketball, so they'll probably get some. But then after that, you never know. You go to places like South Carolina, they could go to women's basketball. You go to Nebraska, it could go to volleyball. You just don't know. You don't know, and it's going to be up to the university to decide how that money gets spent, which once again could cause some deals like, for example, Kentucky is probably going to say, well, we want to put it all in towards men's basketball and some towards football, but we're not going to put it all. We're going to put more of our money towards. So you could kind of pick which sport you want to maybe be more dominant in than the other because you can put more money towards it, and it's at your discretion to do it. So I think we're going to see some places pop up and become powerhouses here over the next few years because they've decided to put their money in certain sports and maybe not in others. But there's only so much pie to go around. And you could see a lot of sports, let's say swimming and diving, especially if you're not a big time program that does it, those could just go away. They could be away. They could be left alone. There's lots of questions. How does this impact Title IX? There's so many things to be answered at this point in time. But if you're talking about a winner of the weekend, it's being a future college athlete, because now not only can you make money from the university, you can make more money on top from NIL. You can make a whole lot more money. And I'm very fast to see it all breaks down here over the next few years and how it all ends up changing things. But once again, winner of the weekend is college athletes, no doubt about it. And even former college athletes, because everyone's going to be getting some money in their bank accounts here. Loser of the weekend, as we wrap it up here on the segment number one, college athletics are first and foremost the biggest loser of the weekend. It's because, once again, losing that amateurism was something that people liked. Even though they might have known that back in the day they might have been getting $100 handshakes or whatever like that, people liked the idea that kids came out of high school, they went to their universities, and they played, their 3, 4, 5 years at that university and played hard and maybe had success, maybe didn't. And all of this has just gone completely out the window. Now, of course, as we've talked many times on this show, kids are coming and going as they please. We've seen many athletes that, where they're going to be on their fourth stop here. PJ Haggerty is one of those examples, the big signing out of the portal for K-State men's basketball. K-State's going to be, I think, his fourth stop. There's no loyalty to a program anymore. It's all about where can I get the biggest bag. And now because of this NCAA versus House settlement, now the university is going to be paying the money towards athletes too. So not only are they getting a scholarship and all that money that goes towards housing, now they get extra money on top of it as well to help pay for whatever else they want to do. And then they get even more money from NIL if they get it. Like I said, I think, like I said, to me, losers are college athletics, because I think people really liked that. They loved the pageantry and, like I said, the amateurism model. They loved that. They thought that was great. It's now all gone. And college athletics are a loser for the weekend. And boy, I really do think, in the long term, I think it's going to hurt college athletics. All the multi-millions and billions of dollars that the college athletics has drummed up over the years because of the reason that they were what they were. I think it could all go. I think it slowly could start fading away and becoming less and less popular. There's already professional stuff. We don't need more pro stuff. Now, once again, they could get the two back in the toothpaste by putting up barriers and saying you can't transfer but only one time and all this stuff. They could put up more barriers and limit the amount of money that every player gets. They could do that, but they have to collective bargain, and that's going to be a hard thing to do. But that's to me, the biggest loser of the weekend is college athletics. College athletes are winners, but college athletics, colleges, fans of that are losers of the weekend. No doubt about that. Continuing on losers of the weekend, the Kansas City Royals. The Royals are losers of the weekend. Look, we could pick on the Rockies every single weekend. Yeah, we know they got swept this weekend. Got it. But we know where they are. The Royals are a team that's, hovering around 500, had a good chance to pick up some ground here. And so they now sit in fourth place in the AL Central standings. Had some room to make up some ground. Couldn't get it done against the worst team in the American League. They end up losing 2 out of 3 to the White Sox up on the south side of Chicago this past weekend. They lose 7-2 on Friday, 4-1 on Saturday, and then hold off a late rally to win 7-5 on Sunday to get 1 out of those 3 games from the White Sox. But Chicago has the second worst league record in Major League Baseball at 22-44. The Royals had a great opportunity to take 2 out of 3 or to sweep that series and propel themselves even ahead of Cleveland for the third spot. Heck, maybe even move into second place because Detroit's 7 games ahead of second place Minnesota, and Kansas City's only a game and a half back of Minnesota. Could not get it done. You have to take advantage of series that come at you that you need to win. And there's lots of teams that don't, unfortunately. And the Royals are one of them this past weekend. They did not take advantage of it. Shout out to the White Sox getting a couple of wins against the Royals. But those were a couple of games that I think you would have loved to have had to help yourself in the race for the postseason. So loser of the weekend, the Kansas City Royals, once again losing 2 out of 3 to the second worst team in Major League Baseball. Those, once again, your weekend winners and losers here on this Monday, June the 9th. Once again, going to be a warm one today. Temperatures around the low 80s, and right now 60 degrees is the current temperature. Quick winner of the weekend from listener Michael on the F&B Bank text line at 785-899-2222. His winner is his Boston Red Sox, taking the series against the Yankees in the Bronx. Congratulations to the Red Sox, who, by the way, have had a very disappointing year too, by the way. I think there was a lot more higher expectations for the Red Sox this year. It has not worked out that way to this point in time. Been a very tough 25 season for the Boston Red Sox, that's for sure. Sell the team. All right, let's get to a break. When we come back, we will be joined by Aaron Schromick. He was the head coach on the winning side of the 8-man D1 football all-star game in Beloit this past weekend. He led the West team to a 72-0 victory over the East. We'll get his thoughts on that week and the game and all that ahead, so stick around. Plenty more to get to here on a Monday edition of the Morning Blitz.
Where is the best place to go to stream your favorite NWKS radio station? NWKSradio.net. Where should you go to find out what's happening in the area? NWKSradio.net. What's happening with local area sports? NWKSradio.net. Is the weather causing delays or cancellations? NWKSradio.net. Need tickets to the next big NWKS radio event? NWKSradio.net. The place to go to be in the know. NWKSradio.net. It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning. This is Kate Thompson with the Anderson Trade Group. Today is Monday, June 9th. On the overnight last night, July corn lower 2 3/4 at 4.39 3/4. September down 5 at 4.28 1/4. December down 6 at 4.43 1/4. March down 6 at 4.58 1/4. July soybeans up 1/4 cent on the overnight at 10.57 1/2. August down 1/4 at 10.50 1/2. September down 1/4 at 10.28. November beans up 1/4 at 10.37 1/4. Chicago wheat July contract lower 10 1/4 at 5.44 1/2. September down 9 at 5.59 3/4. December down 8 1/2 at 5.81 1/4. March soft wheat down 7 1/2 at $6. Kansas City beef July contract lower 10 cents on the overnight at 5.39 1/4. September down 9 1/4 at 5.53 1/4. December down 9 1/2 at 5.74 1/4. March down 9 1/2 at 5.93 3/4. On the stock market this morning, the Dow up $92 at 42,592. The S&P up 13 at 5,994. The Nasdaq up 41 at 21,807. Gold higher $1.30 an ounce at $3,400.50. Silver up $1.20 at $35.85. Crude oil up 96 cents a barrel at $63.81. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado Walks a call. John Hankey or John Stiles at 970-744-4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Saludo, Jared Small, or Trevor Ghosh at 913-748-3000.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, and cleaner American fuel. This message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
They say seeing is believing, and nothing catches the eye like the 9.5 bushel per acre yield advantage of Revitec fungicide over other fungicides. But don't just take our word for it. See it for yourself. Run a comparison of Revitec fungicide.
Today at 785-728-7166 for fast, reliable service. Your home or business deserves the best protection.
It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid? Why?
Your daily dose of sports.
All right, continuing on a Monday show. Glad you're with us on the Morning Blitz. As always, F&B Bank text line open for your thoughts, comments, and questions. 785-899-2222. We'll get to some other things we missed from the first segment and the leftovers coming up in our third segment, but we are pleased to be joined on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware hotline by Aaron Trummick, friend of the program, head coach of the Rollins County Buffalo football team during the season, but he got the honor of being the all-star head coach for the 8-man D1 squad this past weekend in Beloit. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. What was that experience like from your perspective?
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me on here. It is a great experience. I was honored to be an assistant coach last year, and they asked me to come back as the head coach this year of the West squad. It was just a great experience. I had Coach Lance Barr from Hoxie as one of my assistants, and Coach Brett Westrup from South Central. So that was great to have them there. It's a great experience getting to know the kids from the other teams that you competed against all season in the regular season district, the playoffs, and getting to know, what they're like, and just realizing they're just a bunch of great kids, just like your hometown kids, and just it's just fun to get to coach them. They're smart. They're the best kids in the state, and they really catch on to things quickly. And again, you get to hang out with other coaches from both sides of the state.
Yeah, do you get to pick your staff to an extent, or does it kind of picked for you?
It is actually, they ask the head coach. They try to bring back a coach from the previous year as an assistant if it works out that way as the head coach, and then you kind of get to pick. They let you ask to a point on who you want to ask to be an assistant, and so you kind of reach out to them and see what they want to do. So yeah, it was pretty simple who I felt I wanted to reach out to, so it worked out well.
We're visiting with Aaron Schromick here on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. He, of course, coached the West All-Stars and the 8-man D1 All-Star game here this past weekend. Yeah, how much learning do you do or get from this weekend when you get to, like, say, get to spend time with other coaches and pick their brain, or just get to see things maybe in practice? How much do you learn?
Oh yeah, that's a big part of it, especially when you got, if you get coaches been doing it for a while, and we sit there and talk amongst ourselves. We all hang out together and the dorms up there in Beloit, and we talk about off-season workouts. We talk about just in-season, just what we do in practice and different things we approach, and you can kind of get to see different styles of coaching and how they run their offense and defense, and then so you do come back with just different ideas and different concepts, and see how practice runs, and then we talk a lot with the D1 or D2 West coaches, and then this year was kind of a nice year too. We with a lot of communication and stuff, even with the East coaches. So it's definitely a pretty cool part of the whole process.
You mentioned that you were an assistant in previous stops at this game. What's the biggest difference between being the assistant and to being the head man?
Well, I mean, it takes on a different role. It just kind of depends how you approach it. Last year I was asked to be an assistant from Coach Davian in Hill City, and he asked me to run the defense last year, and so that was a different experience in itself, because then I had a lot of preparation and just figuring out what we want to do on that end and how we want to set it up. And you kind of can base that off of personnel. You base it off of what, offense you think the other team is going to run. You don't know because they have 3 coaches. And so it's kind of a guessing game, which makes the whole thing kind of unique in its way. So, and then this year, as being the head coach, there's a little more detail, with the selection process. You kind of have to kind of head that up, set up meetings, and just kind of go through the selection process with the coaches, and then preparation as you get closer to the week of the game. This year, where I got to run the defense last year, and I kind of had an idea of what our offense might look like with personnel. So I went with a different approach, kind of what Coach Davian did last year. I asked Coach Barr to run the offense just because I kind of had a pretty good idea who our quarterback might be. And then I asked the South Central coach to run the defense. So I kind of sat back and took care of the organization stuff, and then worked in whereas I needed, as the head coach. It kind of extends your season. When you agree to, we agreed clear back in December, January, to be the coaches, and then it really makes it kind of a year-round season for us, because there's a lot goes into just getting ready for the whole week of practice and all that stuff.
We're visiting with Aaron Schromick, Rollins County head football coach, of course, also head coach of the 8-man D1 football West squad this past weekend up there in Beloit. You said right there, there's so much that goes into it, bleeding into that week of practice. Can you kind of give us a Cliff Notes version of what kind of all goes into the organization leading into that All-Star week?
Sorry, you cut out for a second. Do you want to know during the week what kind of goes into the week?
You said just a few minutes ago how you sign up for this in December, and so there's a lot of planning that goes into even before the week leading into that. I was curious kind of what that process is like.
Right, yeah. So when we agree to be the coaches, then in January there's we start watching film on there's a nomination period where all the teams nominate their players that they would like to be in it. Then there's a period at the beginning where we watch a lot of film. Of course, we play some of them. Some of the guys we don't have a lot of film on, so we gather that from other coaches as we can, so we can kind of be prepared to go into that selection meeting with everybody that's nominated. And then there's a coaches meeting that they have to actually select the top 20 players from each side. Then there's that process, and once that's set, then it kind of turns into the period of just trying to figure out, what kind of offense you think you're going to run, what kind of defense you think you're going to run, and then the special teams factor in all that, and then there's kind of meetings, for the few months leading up to the actual week of how you want to run practices and just kind of all that kind of information.
So now take me to like the day one you guys get to Beloit. I mean, what is that week like? How hard do you run practices? Is it more of a fun, light environment? I mean, how much install does it take to get ready for an all-star game kind of the week of there in Beloit?
There's a lot of install, and as we see the other teams practice and different things, you can tell other coaches take different approaches. Some of them work on a little more technique, a little more drill work. Some of them, there's different ways you can approach it. We kind of took it both the last 2 years as a lot of install, a lot of installing the offense is a big part of it because, you got to learn, whatever coach is going to run that, you got to learn their terminology and how they're going to do that in a short period of time. We have one practice on Tuesday when we get there. And then we have two practices, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and one in the morning, one in the evenings. That's up to a 2-hour practice. We do some individual work. We will break apart, O-line, running backs, receivers, and just work on kind of concepts of what the coaches want to do. It's for us. We got to keep the kids engaged and wanting to compete and so there's a level of enjoying it, having fun, but we are all there to try to win that game on Saturday. So we got to kind of keep that in mind. But the nicest part about it is these are the top kids, top seniors in the state, and they all catch on really quick. With my experience the last 2 seasons of what you're trying to get them to do on both sides of the ball. So it's been a pretty smooth transition. I mean, you're pretty nervous when you're going in. How are they going to do this? How are they going to catch on? But they're engaged. They want to be there, and then so it's a pretty smooth process for us.
Well, I would say it went pretty smooth this year, considering it was a 72-0 win. I mean, why do you think that the West squad just took control of that game and dominated? It's one of the more lopsided all-star games in its history.
Yeah, I mean,
besides, of course, the great coaching. We know the great coaching. That was the big thing. We know that.
Yeah, tremendous coaching, of course, but they really caught on. They bought in. They caught on to the system quickly, and we're able to get a lot of reps in with the guys because of that. Once we taught it, they caught on, and for the most part, we had a lot of good players. I mean, we all kind of, in my opinion, felt at the end of the season, the West side, the top teams, maybe the top 4 teams, maybe the top 5 teams, in my opinion. Of course, I was one of them. We felt like we were pretty solid out west this season. You never know. That could completely flip next season. It's always hard to tell from season to season. So, I mean, we had some of the top kids in the entire state that we felt on our side of the ball. When the score gets like that, when we sub somebody, we were, when somebody went in, most likely they were a top all-state player going in for a top all-state player. So, we had kids from Hoxie, Wichita County, Rollins County, Hill City, Trigo, South Gray, Ellis, South Central. We had kids from Kinsley, Meade, Sublette. I think I kind of got all Oxford kid that was a super player. So, in general, that was the most of it. They played a full game. They didn't do the 45-point rule. They ran a regular third quarter and continuous in the fourth quarter. So that's part of the reason why that score, ended up that way.
Well, a couple more for you here. We'll let you go. But I was curious, what's it like coaching these guys that you had to prepare for? Like the Duncan Bells and those other guys from Hoxie and other places that you've had to prep for. Getting ready for the postseason or the games, to have them on your team and get to prep with. What's that like?
As a coach going in, that's probably the coolest and the part of it about it. Like I said, you you want to beat those players, those teams, those coaches during the regular season. And sometimes you think you see them on the field and you kind of wonder what they're like as players and kids and athletes. And then you get to coach them. You get to see them, how they practice. You get to see them, how they play. And the bigger part of you get to see who they are as a person. And like, you realize that they're just, awesome, smart, athletic kids, just like your top kids back home. And you kind of learn from that too. You can kind of see them, there's so much stuff that you can take back from this week and bring back home and try to instill in your kids or your coaching staff and all that stuff. So yeah, that part is, you get to see, the Leota kids, how tough they are and how tough, the Hoxie kids, South Central kids, the teams that kind of knocked you off the last 2 or 3 seasons. And it's pretty fun.
Aaron Schrumick, our guest here on the Morning Blitz. One more for you. You got a chance, of course, to coach a couple of your own guys during Colwell and your son, Ryan Schrumick, for a final time. How cool is that experience to get to do that in an all-star game with a couple of really good players you had for you this previous fall?
Yeah, that was kind of the icing on the whole thing. Obviously, having Doran Colwell there was great. He had a great career here and was definitely deserved to be on that team and saw some good playing time at defensive end. And then getting the opportunity to coach my own son, be the head coach, and to get to be there with him to kind of finish off his final experience of his high school career with all his, athletic accomplishments that he had. And then, that was pretty awesome to get to see that, and he played great on both sides of the ball and just had a super fun week.
Is Ryan going to go play ball anywhere here in college or no?
He is not. He had some offers from the NAIA schools that were really looking at him, and he has made a tough decision. He even considered playing at Fort Hays State, but he's still not sure about his decision. But at this point he has decided to just kind of move on with his, get his academic career moving forward and going that route. So he's still got some injuries that he's working through. So, but he is gonna go to school.
Sounds good. Aaron Schrumick, our guest here, Rollins County head football coach in the fall, and he's the 8-man D1 All-Star Game winning coach representing the West here this past weekend in Beloit. Aaron, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Really appreciate it for the insights, and we'll catch up soon. Have a good start to your summer.
Yeah, thank you, Ross. Yep, appreciate it.
Once again, great stuff there from Aaron Schrumick. Just wonderful stuff to visit with him about what's going on with a very neat scenario there, and look forward to seeing what he cooks up with his Buffalo squad here in the fall. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up with the leftovers next. You're listening to the Morning Blitz here on a Monday.
Farmers and ranchers, are you looking to build better yields from Visit fedandhappy.com or call 833-GO-WORMS. That's 833-GO-WORMS. Fed and Happy. Feed your soil. Grow your success.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
Spring is in full swing at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware. Get your lawn and garden looking their best with Ultimate Fertilizer and gear up with Eco blowers and mowers for the season ahead. Tackling a project, they've got a surplus of quality lumber ready for all your building needs. And when the work's done, fire up the fun with their wide selection of grills, smokers, and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Stop by Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby. your one-stop shop for spring projects, big and small.
Convenience just got an upgrade. Farmers State Bank of Oakley is excited to announce the opening of our brand new ATM along Highway 40, right next to Sonic Drive-In. Whether you're grabbing a snack or on the go, you can quickly access your cash without the detour. It's banking made easy, right where you need it. Farmers State Bank of Oakley, member FDIC.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Hey everyone, come and see how good I look.
Your daily dose of sports.
All right, we're wrapping up a show here on a Monday. Thanks to Aaron Schromick for joining the program. Big thanks to all the listeners chiming in also on the FNB Bank text line at 785-899-2222. Of course, you can also comment on our Pearl Chevrolet GMC video stream if you'd like to as well. All right, as we wrap up the show here today, quickly update on in baseball. The Rockies, I mean, riding high going into the weekend after a midweek sweep of the Marlins on the road. I said, I think you better enjoy that. I don't think it's going to last very long. Well, I was right. They were swept by the NL East leading Mets, losing 4-2 Friday, 8-1 Saturday, and then 13-5 on Sunday. 6 home runs allowed by Rockies pitching. 6 home runs. 2 for Jeff McNeil, another 2 for Pete Alonso. They accounted for 4 of the 6, as the Mets just Coors Field specialed the Rockies, who dropped to 12-53. They are winless. I think they're 0-8 against the Mets. And they have lost. They were swept this season series by the Mets, and that losing streak goes back to last year. Tough outing for Chase Dollander. Gave up 5 runs, all earned on 8 hits, with a couple of home runs allowed. Was a decent day for Jordan Beck. Had a couple RBIs. Like I said, but that was about it. For the Rockies, who once again are swept by the Mets. They have a day off today, and then they will open up a series over the midweek at home against the Giants starting tomorrow. So no game today for the Rockies. And an update from college baseball. So the super regionals are almost all done. There is still one final spot in Omaha to be decided upon. Saturday, we saw Coastal Carolina, which really cool, seeing them back in the College World Series. They've won 23 in a row as Coastal Carolina rattled off that. They sweep Auburn. They're into the College World Series, I believe, for the second time in the program. Especially they won it the last time they were there. I remember. That was really cool. I'm kind of a semi-Coastal Carolina fan. But nonetheless, the Coastal is in there. Also, an upset Arizona going across the country to upset North Carolina. They take down North Carolina in 3. And then yesterday, more tickets were punched. Arkansas is going. The Hogs, probably looking like one of the favorites at this point in time. They are totally loaded. So you got Arkansas, Arizona. Those are baseball blue bloods, in my opinion. LSU is going, probably the ultimate blue blood in college baseball. They took care of West Virginia. I was hoping West Virginia was going to pull off that upset. It did not happen. LSU takes that series 2-0. Oregon State won in a shootout late last night, 14-10. They're a blue blood. They're going back to the College World Series. UCLA and University of Texas San Antonio, probably the most disappointing series. I thought UTSA, the way they played down in Texas, that they would be a much more of an opponent for UTSA. They just weren't. They were not. UTSA got taken. UCLA went 5-0, and then they won 7-0 on Sunday to UCLA, going back to the College World Series the first time, I think, since 2013. They won it then in 2013. And then you had Louisville taking down Miami 3-2, and probably the best game of the day yesterday. 3-2 the victory. Got a little dicey at the end, but they pull it out and get the win. And then there's just one game left to decide. That would be here tonight, I should say, 6 Central, 5 Mountain Time, Murray State and Duke. Can the Racers of Murray State take down the ACC's Duke? We'll find out. I don't know. One thing I like about it, we'll see how it all pans out if Murray State get it done, but I love how there's a great mixture of teams from different conferences. I think that is a pretty cool thing. We'll discuss that more on Tuesday's show. That is for sure.
High drive, deep left, grand slam! And back lifts his ball deep to right. How about a walk-off Brady? Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes flings it. It's there! Hardman! Jackpot, Kansas City!
Well, the Oklahoma City Thunder even up the NBA Finals at a game apiece. They take down the Pacers 123-107 last night behind 34 points from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And you talk about efficient. 11 of 21 from the field, 11 of 12 from the free throw line. He led the way. He was really good. Also, Alex Caruso with 20 points off the bench. He was fantastic. And for the second consecutive finals game, the Pacers do not have a guy score above 20 points. Tyrese Halliburton had 17 points on 7 of 13 shooting. Pascal Siakam, 15 points on 3 of 11. Not good. I don't know. I feel like that Pacers win might have just kind of been a flash in the pan. We'll see if they go back home tomorrow and take on and they play there in Indianapolis. See if that changes. But I don't know. Oklahoma City, they're just so good, so good. I just don't know if the Pacers can keep pace with them at this point in time. That does it for our program. Thanks to Aaron Stromik for joining it. Thanks for you for tuning in as well. Once again, this is the first of 3 shows this week. No show Thursday, Friday, as I will be out of the studio. But back again tomorrow, though, in 23 hours. Hope you join us. It's been the Morning Blitz. Have a good one.
Classic rock plays here. This